Hi there. In this episode, we're going to talk about Congress. Before we get started, though, let's do a little review. You should remember from earlier in the year that the Congress is our legislative branch. It's their job to make laws. It's going to be Article 1 of the Constitution that sets up the legislative branch. As part of one of the compromises during the Constitutional Convention, we have a bicameral legislature. That means it has two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Okay, so let's take a look at the House. Now, members of the House of Representatives are elected for a 2-year term. To qualify to be a member of the House of Representatives, you have to be at least 25 years old. You can be an immigrant, but you need to have become a naturalized citizen and have been living in the United States for 7 years. And you also need to reside in the state that you are representing. Now, the reason why the term is so small is that they want the citizens to be able to have some control over what's happening in Congress. When it comes to the House of Representatives, there are 435 members. There's also going to be 6 extras. And those members are representing things like Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia. They do not have any voting rights, but they do get to participate. Again, this number, this 435, is based on population. Now, in order to determine what states get what representatives, our government conducts a census every 10 years. And then we adjust what states get what representatives. If you take a look at the map, our last census was in 2010, and as a result of that, you can see where certain states lost representatives and states like us here in Florida actually gained. That's because people are moving from place to place across the country, and as they move looking for work or going to school, they're going to change what states need what amount of representation. Now, inside the House of Representatives, we have a leadership structure. The leader of the House of Representatives is the Speaker of the House. And the Speaker of the House comes from the majority party. What the majority means is that there are more people in that party in the House than of the others. So it could be the majority might be the Republicans one year, the next year it might be the Democrats. So currently our Speaker of the House is a Republican, Paul Ryan, and he is by far one of the most important members of Congress. The Speaker of the House holds a lot of power. They determine what committees each member will serve on, and they're also going to order which bills will be heard. So if the Speaker of the House doesn't like a specific piece of legislation, he can delay when it's going to be talked about. And in doing so, it could actually kill the piece of legislation, the idea for a law. Now, the House of Representatives has some special powers that the Senate doesn't have. All appropriation bills have to start in the House of Representatives. Appropriations, we're talking about money. So any kind of budget, any kind of spending, any kind of taxation, all those bills, all those laws have to first start in the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives also gets to determine who the president's going to be if there's ever a tie. They also are in charge of starting the impeachment process if a high-ranking official does something wrong. Now let's take a look at the Senate. The Senate is a smaller body, and they are called the upper house. They actually have more power because they're in there for a longer period of time. The term of office for the Senate is 6 years, and the qualifications are a little stricter. You have to be at least 30 years old. You have to have been a citizen for 9 years, and again, you have to be a resident of the state that you're representing. The number of senators is based on equal representation. There's 100 even. The head of the U.S. Senate is actually the U.S. Vice President. But the only time the Vice President gets involved is when there is a tie. Day to day, the head is called the President pro tempore. And for the most part, they really don't have a lot of power, not nearly as much as the Speaker of the House. But they do decide some committee members, and they do order what bills are going to be debated. But in reality, it's the Speaker of the House that is much more powerful. Now, the special powers of the Senate are different than that of the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is more focused on domestic issues, while the Senate is more focused on foreign affairs, how we deal with other countries. As such, the Senate is going to be the one that approves all treaties. So if we make an agreement with a foreign country, it's going to be the Senate that has to approve it. They also approve all presidential appointments. So if the president wants to put a new member on the Supreme Court, the Senate has to approve it. If the president wants to appoint somebody as the new ambassador to Brazil, the Senate has to approve it. So this is this power is one of the ways that the president is kept in check. They also choose the vice president if there's an electoral college tie. And they're going to be the jury in case of an impeachment. So they're the ones that could actually remove an official. Now, when it comes to Congress, both houses keep a journal, which is called the Congressional Record. Everything that happens in Congress is written down and it's stored. And so you can access online the Congressional Record anytime you want, and it dates back for over 100 years. Both sessions are held at the same time. So both the House of Representatives and Senate are meeting, not together, but they're meeting at the same time. The sessions begin on January 3rd of each year, and they usually go to the end of November, sometimes early December. Usually they have from like Thanksgiving through the New Year off. They must both also have what's called a quorum to do business. Basically, you need a certain percentage of members of Congress present in order to get anything done. That percentage is 51%. Now, both of the houses, both the House and the Senate, have their own rules for behavior and punishment. If you are doing something that you're not supposed to, you can be censured as a congressperson. This is a formal reprimand, and it's actually documented in the Congressional Record for history's sake. You can be fined. There can be penalties for some offenses. You can be expelled, which is basically you're thrown out of office. It takes a lot, though, to be expelled from Congress. Now, as a member of Congress, you're paid. It's a job. Members of Congress make $174,000 every year. They also get free medical and dental benefits. You have an office in Washington, D.C. with the parking paid for. Trips to your home state are paid for. You have a staff budget for secretaries and clerks and interns and all that good stuff. You actually get a tax break on a second home. A lot of Congresspeople have a home in their actual state, but then they also want a house around Washington, D.C. too. So you get a tax break on that one near D.C. They also have what's called franking privileges. And this means that they can send things to their constituents or the people they represent without paying for the postage. So they can send, I'm sure you might have seen sometime, your parents have gotten a flyer from a politician. If it's from their congressman, that was sent without paying for the stamp. That's it for this time.